All right, guys, we need to finally spit some truth about what's happening in the real estate market and what the media is allowing you to believe with some of these articles that they're putting out. I want to jump into an article here on my computer with you guys here together and talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the market and how people are actually feeling, whether or not they bought a home this year, where their current situation is at, and just what they're feeling overall. So I think some of the information in here is a little bit misconstrued as to what's actually happening. So for myself, as somebody who is a real estate agent and a real estate investor, I want to talk about what we're seeing here. So as we come over here, MSN Money. FOMO took over. Some buyers who caved a hot housing market now regret it. Well, okay, that kind of leads you to believe, oh man, they bought into a house, they got FOMO, and now they're, feeling like they're in a bad spot, right? Well, I don't think so. I don't think that's actually what's happening here in the article. It says FOMO is a powerful thing, sometimes powerful enough to spur a life-changing decision like buying a house, selling a property, or refinancing a mortgage. It sounds crazy, but in today's red-hot market, fear of missing out is a real influencer. Just take Sabrina Beaumont, the chief marketing officer for Passion Plans, a floor plan design company based in California. Beaumont had been looking half-heartedly for a house for almost 2 years, but when the pandemic hit and her friends started buying homes left and right, she decided to get off the sidelines and take action. I will admit that FOMO took over for me, says Beaumont. It really set in when my best friend bought her house. Beaumont quickly found herself up against steep competition. While she ultimately found and bought a property, she says buying at such a hot time cost her $30,000 and about 400 square feet. I should have bought one of the houses I looked at in the past, and now I regret not doing it, she says. I ended up getting into a bidding war and bought a house that was smaller and more expensive than ones I had previously looked at. I feel stupid about the situation. Honestly, this is kind of unfortunate because I don't think she should feel stupid for buying a house. Finally, it sounds like the pandemic and her friend buying a house actually got her to take action on getting out there and buying real estate, which is a good decision. She now wishes that she had done it earlier. However, I think if you look at it in a way where it says, hey, FOMO took over and now I'm in a bad situation, I just feel dumb about it, I think you should actually feel pretty good about it because now you're in real estate, you own a home. Yeah, you had to overpay by $30,000 and you lost potential 400 square feet of living space, but you're now in a position where you own that real estate. You've got inflation on your side to help you pay down that mortgage, and there's a good chance that real estate is going to continue to increase. So you'll be happy in 6 months, 12 months, or sometime down in the line that you're going to be a lot happier that you didn't, you're not jumping into the housing market then. Also, if we come down here, feverish home sales and a fear of missing out. Housing inventory is currently at record-setting lows, and it's made buying a home more competitive than ever. According to Redfin, nearly 3/4 of all offers face bidding wars in April, and the average home is selling in just 18 days, the quickest pace ever recorded. I don't know about you guys, but here in my market, here in Utah, we are seeing almost every single house sell in a matter of days. Our average days on market is about 5 right now. That's pretty crazy because you're going to have some homes that do sit on the market for a little longer, but the majority of homes out there are selling within 2 to 3 days. That's basically enough to list it, have showings for 2 or 3 days, and then accept an offer and go under contract at that point. Low inventory is causing fear amongst those who are willing and able to buy, says Dana Bull, a realtor with Sotheby's. Will more homes ever come available? Scarcity creates fear, and people are gobbling up homes that they may not even love just to secure something. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people are finding that they kind of have to settle, which is unfortunate. It's not just buyers who are vulnerable to FOMO, though. It's happening on the selling end, too. As Bull puts it, they're seeing neighbors and friends make huge gains when listing their homes and are debating whether they should take advantage of the opportunity. They fear this might be as good as it gets and should strike when the iron is hot. This is kind of unfortunate because you're in a position where you're going into this and saying, hey, the market's hot. I should be selling my property because I can take out these massive gains. The thing that most people don't realize is, number one, if you haven't lived in the property for at least 2 years, you're going to have to pay taxes on those gains. And number two, you're jumping into a market that is heated as well. So although you're going to get higher gains on the buying side, on the selling side, you're going to have to pay that back on the buying side by overpaying or potentially offering more, I should say, on that future property. So it's not always a net win. I would ideally say, hey, hold on to the property, rent it out, keep it as a long-term investment, and you're going to be better off because in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, there's almost I don't know how to put this, guys. There's a massive guarantee that the home is going to be worth more in the future than it is today. And if it's not, then you've probably got bigger problems, right? So I think that people are in this position where they're saying, hey, I can cash out on this. And I don't think you should feel FOMO from that. You should be in a really good spot. You should be saying, wow, I'm glad I bought a year ago. I'm glad I bought 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And I think that these articles that you keep seeing that pop up here, they're kind of leading to believe like, oh, hey, millennials are regretting the purchase that they made. Well, I don't think so. I think they're regretting that they didn't buy earlier so they didn't have to be in this mess, and they actually had real estate that could appreciate in value and increase their net worth. The reality of the situation is that the people who are getting ahead in today's day and age are the people who own assets. This is real estate, this is stocks, this is bonds, this is just cash on the sideline. The people who have those things are going to continue to get further and further ahead. So, I think that there's some changes out there that need to be made for this. But in the meantime, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, you got to get in and play the game because the game is not going to change. It's easier to get in and play it than it is to go out there and make a change and wait for that change to happen so that it can come down and benefit you later on. So anyways, just my thoughts there. I also want to come down here. For those who are not ready to sell, FOMO has also inspired its fair share of refinances. Crystal Harvey, who refinanced twice in 2020, which is a little bit crazy because of the fees that come with that, but okay, says FOMO was a key player in her decision, especially the second time around. If you're saving at least 0.5% on an interest rate, then usually refinancing is not a bad decision, but to do it twice in 1 year, there's some instances where I could recommend it, but in most cases not, just because the fees are going to be so high. You really need to plan on holding that property for the long term if you're going to do that. I watched friends and colleagues buying new homes or refinancing, and I kept hearing about low interest rates in the news. Headlines about a new refinancing fee, which added 0.5% to the cost of all refinances after December 1st, pushed her to refinance a second time in October. Now, as we come down here, there's some tips that they're going to give you, and I just want to run through these and give you my opinion on them as well. How to avoid a housing decision you'll regret. You're not alone. With homes selling at such a feverish pace and interest rates at near constant lows, it's pretty common to feel pressured in today's market. As Bull explains, FOMO is a valid feeling to be having right now. This sense of urgency and uncertainty that people are feeling is real. The stakes are high. The key, agents say, is acting on that FOMO responsibly by keeping your long-term financial goals in mind before you do. Clients are forgetting their big picture goals in the hyped up moment of multiple offer situations. With so many properties going into multiple offers and significantly over the list price, people get hung up on wanting to win on a popular property, and they lose sight of their larger goals with the home purchase. This can be true. I do see this happen often where, sometimes people get a little bit carried away and just think, okay, I have to win this, but it's maybe not the best financial decision. However, at the same time, if you're buying a property that has a lot of interest, that has something special or unique about it, there's a good chance that property is going to hold its value. So sometimes what the market is willing to pay, what you have to pay today to get into that property, should hopefully hold for the long term and will sell at a premium sometime in the future. That's not always going to be the case. I know that's not the case in every situation, but for the most part, that can come into play. Are you feeling a little housing FOMO yourself? Here's some other tips for not letting it get the best of you. Have a backup. You need to have a backup plan in place. Ideally, a long-term plan and some backup plans. This holds true in any real estate market, but especially now when things are rapidly changing. What happens if you sell your home now and prices continue to escalate? Exactly, that's a really good point. How disappointed would you be? What about if you wait and prices come down? How will that impact your goals? If you buy a house today and pay a premium, will you be able to ride out a down market, or will you outgrow the space too soon? These are the types of questions I ask my clients. There's no right or wrong answer. The goal is to come up with a strategy so people can make decisions with confidence. Keep your goals in mind at all times. You need to be really clear on what your goals are so you can evaluate each opportunity individually. When working with clients, we always review this information up front and get really clear on what they're looking for out of a purchase, whether it's an investment that they plan to build wealth through, or a location they want to raise their family in for the next 15 years. Don't try to time the housing market. This is a really good point. A lot of people, I've been in the business, guys, for 6.5 years now, and I can't tell you how many people I've heard say, oh, I'm just going to wait until prices come down. Prices are going up. It's going to crash. I'm just going to wait till they come down and I'll buy then. Well, newsflash, that hasn't happened. And at this point, I don't think that's going to happen, at least not in major metro markets where the industry and economy is still growing. For instance, myself here in Utah, or if you're in other areas like Las Vegas or Phoenix or Boise or Dallas or Austin or Florida, any of those areas are seeing massive growth right now, and I don't think there's going to be a massive crash. Unless there's like World War III or something, I see very little indicators that there will be a crash. Do I think prices will level out? Yeah, I think they will, and I think that'll actually be a really healthy thing. I think if prices, the appreciation that we're seeing in prices was to drop just slightly right now, that would actually be a major help for what we're seeing in the housing market. But I don't think there's going to be a crash. Obviously, a pandemic didn't cause that, so, there's very few things that actually will cause that at this point. A lot of people are trying to time the market, acting hastily or holding off on making a decision, waiting until conditions improve. In the meantime, they're unhappy with their current situation. People should work on their timeline and buy and sell a property when it's optimal timing for them and their unique situation. That's right. You have to really go into it and say, how much do I weigh the investment side of this? Am I going to lose money by selling it today as opposed to 3 months or 6 months from now? And you have to weigh that against the opportunity of your life, right? What are you going to use that money for? Is there an opportunity cost for that money where you could take it and move it into a different investment? Or are you going to sacrifice that money for being able to get into a home that you love right now, right? If you're selling a property and you need to sell that home before you can buy the next one, maybe you need to make that decision now and give up a little bit of money on selling your home sooner than later to be able to get into that home, right? That's the reason why we make money, is to go out there and use it for our benefit, to get into, to better our lives, basically. Last thing it says here, find good partners. This is the most competitive real estate market in history. Make sure you're working with the best agent, lenders, and attorneys to advocate for you. This is not amateur hour. This is very true. I see a lot of people trying to go about this themselves. If you're selling a house, yes, you can do it right now, but there's a lot of financial or legal pitfalls if you price your home wrong or if you get into a bad situation. Same thing on the buying end. I think every single buyer out there needs an agent on their side who's experienced and can help them get into their house. So this is just an article I wanted to cover here because I thought that the headline was a little bit misleading. Some buyers who caved to a hot housing market now regret it. They're not regretting the hot housing market. They're regretting the fact that they didn't buy sooner or that they didn't hold on to the property, right? These people are not looking at it as a financial decision. And I think those are the things that they're actually regretting when it comes down to this type of stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up here on the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And I'll catch you in the next one.